I was thinking about this. There are times in life where sometimes things just happen and interests don't align and deals don't get made.
Yeah.
Right? Think about it. Like, you're trying to sell your house or trying to buy a house, and for whatever reason, you put in a bid and maybe some sort of an offer sheet. And even though you might be $5,000 or $10,000 more than the other one, they went in a different direction. For whatever reason, X, Y, and Z. I've seen it happen. And it's rare, but it does happen. You see this happen a lot with couples. People just grow apart, and their
40 to 50% of American marriages end in divorce.
Right, their interests don't align anymore, and
it happens.
I've seen people that have been married for 30, 40 years, and all of a sudden, just out of the blue, like they just completely grow apart. You're like, wow, didn't realize that. And sometimes there's really no bad person.
No.
Like, I know we always want to look for someone to blame in these situations. Like, do I think Aiyuk has handled everything properly? No. Do I think the Niners have handled everything properly? No, I don't. I think both parties have made mistakes in this case. But Joe, I look at this and I go, do their interests currently align? Because that's when a deal gets made. When someone says, I'll take a little off here and I'll take a little off here, and there's a concession made on either side, and then you meet in the middle. And I don't know if that's able to happen right now. The Niners' interests are, we are trying to win a Super Bowl right now. We are trying to keep all of our best players, knowing we're probably not going to be able to, because we're really good at developing players. And there's a lot of guys that have their hand out right now, rightfully. And then Aiyuk is like, hey, I want to make the most possible, right? And I get that. The question now becomes, can they meet in the middle, or has that already passed?
I'm really trying to understand, because we have so many different insiders, so many different people, all these, like, what is the holdup here? I don't know what it is. Is it, I want 30 average annual over 29? Is it, I want an extra 4 or 5th year? Like, is it the years? I don't know. Like, is it the signing bonus? Is it the guarantee net signing money where if they don't have enough? I'm really trying to understand what it is here. And obviously everything will get leaked out once it happens, if he gets traded, if he doesn't. Speaking of that, because we haven't really been talking about the likelihood of him getting traded ever since, Andrew Filipponi, who's obviously a host over at our sister station out in Pittsburgh. He joined you guys. He talked about it. He tripled down that he still thinks that Aiyuk is going to be a Steeler before the regular season starts. But here's David Lombardi, who does cover the 49ers for The Athletic, joining Willard and Dibbs yesterday. Here he is talking about on if a trade of Brandon Aiyuk is still possible.
I haven't heard anything ruled out by the 49ers. Every single bit of messaging, and this has been publicly, even in a press conference from the team, is that everything is still on the table. I just think that when we look at situation, rationally from, okay, what's best for the 49ers, both in the short term and the long term, but while also emphasizing that the short term has probably outsized importance right now for the team because they're trying to win the Super Bowl this year, just given the context of everything that's happened in the past 5 years. It seems to me that the best possible solution for the 49ers would be to re-sign Brandon Aiyuk and get after it. Now, I think that there's an argument to be made that's the best possible solution for Brandon Aiyuk as well. But the question is that what's the happy spot financially? And then are there, hurt feelings to smooth over? Because it obviously hasn't been the smoothest negotiation.
So again, what's the number? Guaranteed, total guarantees of all these wide receivers. Here's the top 5. Justin Jefferson, $110 million. He's not getting that. CeeDee Lamb, $100 million guaranteed. I don't think he's getting that. Now we get into the area where I think this is more Brandon Aiyuk. You can split the difference here.
He's about the AJ
Brown, $84 million. DJ Moore, $81 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $77 million. And they got Jalen Waddle, who Brandon Aiyuk is better than Jalen Waddle, $76 million. Cooper Kupp, $75. Somewhere in that, 80, 85, hell,
I agree.
90 maybe, I don't know.
Which is all monopoly money to us.
Correct.
Which gets back to my overarching theme. If you're a Niner fan, the enthusiasm for this season has been, and I hate using this word, but it's the only one I can come up with. I feel like my enthusiasm has been taken hostage by all of the off-field stuff, whether it's Trent and Aiyuk and all that, and it's zapped my enthusiasm for this upcoming season. And I'm dying for it to come to conclusion so that we can get ourselves ready to go, round up the troops like regulators, and go. Let's go. It's go time.
Are you Denzel right now, an inside man? And who's Clive Owen in this situation?
But you get Like,
it's just a great hostage movie. I'm just saying, Spike Lee. It's an
I know, and
underrated movie.
I don't want, because I know there's real world hostage situations, and I don't want to be that guy.
We're not.
I don't want to like sound like I'm tone deaf. But the reality is that I think that a lot of 49er fans feel very similar to me, where it's like, come on, man. Like, that's literally the number one thing when I go out, people are like, come on, like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, I think the Buckner thing sucked, but in retrospect, at least they ripped the Band-Aid off and did it quickly. This has been a slow, painful, like nauseating, exhausting saga.
If he gets traded at this point, like, I'm trying to think of like history of the Bay Area, like trades that like broke fan bases. I don't know if it would break a fan base that much. Like, you'd be hurt heading into the season if you had to trade Brandon Aiyuk, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Like Khalil Mack, I go to, right, with the Raiders. Like, that one was just like, what, like you knew, like, it was lingering, and then all of a sudden, right before the season starts, Labor Day weekend, I believe it was, he gets traded to the Bears, and it's just like this huge haul, and it's just like, wow, you're going into this, now it's a massive rebuild, you move off Amari Cooper the next season. It was just, the writing was on the wall. That's why this is so different, though, because the 49ers are in a championship mindset. They don't have a new coach starting.
No.
They don't want to be behind the 8 ball. They don't want to start fresh. No. You want to keep players that you drafted in the first round at the end of the day. You've only been able to do that once in the Kyle Shanahan era. Once!
Incredible.
Nick Bosa!
That's incredible.
It's unbelievable.
And this is a guy that you found late in the first round.
That, honestly,
it's a great pick.
Was not on my radar when he was drafted there, because it was such a stacked wide receiver draft, Joe Shasky. Who are we talking about? We were talking about CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
We were talking about Justin Jefferson. Talking about Henry Ruggs. Oh, he ran a 4.3, whatever it was. Like, wow, he was so fast. I knew Mark Davis was going to take him, even though he should have taken CeeDee Lamb. And then you had who else? You got the Riegers of the world. You had a bunch of other names. Yeah, Jalen Rieger. And then, you got this guy, Brandon Aiyuk, and Niners fans were pretty excited about it. And all he has been is consistent throughout his whole career.
Really good.
He's been really good. And you want to reward players like that. But the Niners dragged their feet early on in this process. So, yes, there's blame to go around in all this. But at the end of the day, they did draft a wide receiver this year in Ricky Pearsall, who they expected this season, and we're going to get to Lombardi, who talked about how he looked at practice yesterday. Pearsall is expected to contribute this year, and it's going to be interesting. Week 1, if Ayuk's not there and Pearsall is, what if Pearsall gets a touchdown? How does that affect things? What if Pearsall all of a sudden looks, wow, he just torched the Jets. Wow, he just caught a ball over Sauce Gardner.
Well, I know everybody's like losing their mind about Penix and Kirk Cousins. To a lesser degree, you introduced this on the 49ers by drafting Ricky Pearsall. I think you made some tension here, and I get why they would want to like kind of get out in front of it, but because you didn't move Aiyuk right then and there, like all of this stuff that you're referencing is now a like fodder to be talked about.
And Aiyuk and him are boys, reportedly. They were teammates, but that doesn't change anything. Like, you think Ayuk's out there if he misses week 1, he's rooting for Ricky Pearsall? No chance.
No.
Sorry, I love you, Rick. I hope you don't catch anything, and I hope you fumble a ball.
These guys are competitive, and every snap you take is a snap I'm not taking.
Correct. Like, Tom Brady talked about it all the time. Jimmy Garoppolo's his backup, right? Like, there needs to be a creative tension there. Like, Brett Favre famously, he's like, I'm not going to help Aaron Rodgers. But, like, him just being in his presence obviously helped him and stuff like that, and just watching what he does, all that sort of stuff. But Jordan Love, same thing. Aaron Rodgers talked about Jordan Love, right? He's like, I'm not here to be a mentor for this kid. Like,
I don't know. Did you hear Belichick was on with McAfee yesterday? And
we got some sound from. Let me see if we can find him. Carter, if you can find the sound for that, put it on my board. Thank you.
I'm looking for it.
Yeah, so it's really good. And in summation, it was something to the effect of like, hey, you know, Brandon Aiyuk is in a really good situation. He referenced other players. I think CeeDee Lamb was the other one that he referenced. He said, you're in a really good situation. You're going to be very successful. The team's going to win. You're probably looking at another extension after this one if you play your cards right. If you want to make every last dollar, it's probably not going to be there. But if you want to win and make a really good living and then have another contract down the line, like Belichick laid it out there, and he used to say it to players as they were going on the conversation. He said, like, well, did this ever happen with you in New England? He said all the time. And I would tell guys, like, hey, look, if you want to make every last dollar, New England is not your place.
I think of Chandler Jones when he left to the Cardinals, right? You probably wanted to stay in New England and win another Super Bowl, right? But he left to the Cardinals and wanted to get more money.
Yeah, well, and he was running out of windows, and there's a lot of going in on that.
Chandler Jones,
The synthetic weed.
You don't have to tell me. Raiders.
The synthetic weed.
He'll always have that interception stiff arm of Mac Jones.
But like, you know, I keep going back to the housing market, even though it's not an exact comp, but if you want a 4-bedroom home with a huge backyard and you want the driveway and you want great public schools, and you're probably not going to be able to get that
in California. You're going to Kansas. You're going to Wichita. God love you.
Well, you've got to come off of something. You're not going to get everything that you want. And if you are, then you're going to be living in the middle of nowhere.
Correct.
Right?
We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. Bill Belichick, to your point, here's what he had to talk about on other teams' contracts impacting his negotiations. Actually, no, let's do that one second. Let's do this one that you alluded to first.
Yeah.
A little more money worth a worse situation.
The Aiyuk situation was interesting too. Here's a guy that, again, I don't know all the specifics of it, so I'm really, I'm looking at it from the outside here, but didn't want to go to New England, didn't want to go to Pittsburgh. In the end, is the little more money, however much the extra money is that worth going to a team that, isn't maybe has the same opportunity to win as maybe what San Francisco does? And so I think that's kind of the, and whether CeeDee Lamb's going through the same thing down there or not, I don't know. Like, Dallas is a pretty good situation, got a great quarterback, got a good team, got a lot going for you. Does he want as much money as possible? Yeah, of course. But is it really worth it to go out of town to wherever and not be playing in the environment and the opportunity he has there in Dallas? So, I mean, AJ, you've been there before. That's a player, a decision you have to make as a player. Like, how much is it? You want to try to get as much as you can from the team you want to be with. If you're already on that team, then, how much is it really worth by the time you move, pay your 50% tax or your millionaire's tax in New England? You got that one too. What's really the differential?
Bill Belichick yesterday on the Pat McAfee show via ESPN. So, yeah.
I mean, isn't that telling? This is new. No, he's one of the greatest winners of all time. And it's easy for him to say, hey, that's up to the player to determine. But at the end of the day, it kind of is up to the player. Like, are you hell-bent on being... I don't even know, but let's just say we don't know what the specifics are. Are you hell-bent on making this exact amount of money, no matter what?
I look at Belichick, and this is one of the more underrated parts about him. You can say he's a jerk. You can say he's a prick. You can say all this stuff to the media. But he had a tremendous amount of buy-in from his players.
Absolutely.
To stay there at his price. I don't know if I can say that about Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch yet. Now, that's the greatest coach of all time, and he had the hardware to say, you know what? I can take you to the promised land and win that for you. Niners right now, they're looking at us like, I'm trying to get my money. Now has times changed for Belichick? Now Belichick's out of the league. Is this like, are we seeing now just a turning of the tide when it comes to players, whether it's in the NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, wanting theirs and just saying, you know what, the rest of the team can figure it out. I need to get mine now. I think that's a conversation we could pick up on the other side. Plus more Belichick sound reaction. And how'd Ricky Pearsall look yesterday? Practicing for the first time in a while. First round pick out of Florida. Oh, by the way, Florida, Miami this week, I think, out in Gainesville. Sam Loveman's nervous. He's going to be down at the Swamp, and he's not going to be there. And not with that. Come on, Sam. Ugh. Carter, you're doing a hell of a job back there. But I miss Sam's just pacing back and forth. It does give it some extra juice back there. We got the great Joe Hawks back there as well. Matt Nahigan being our engineer for this morning, too. Well, we'll figure out YouTube, 888-957-9570. In the meantime, you can hit us up there, the Xfinity Mobile text line, all that and more coming up next on 95.7 The Game.